The investigation moved quickly. Mirai's transmission had included evidence of the attack. The mercenaries, when questioned, revealed who had hired them. A group called the Purity Council, a radical faction within the coalition government. They believed that some species were too dangerous to coexist with others. Humans were at the top of their list. Within days, the coalition high command convened an emergency tribunal. The purpose was twofold: to judge the Purity Council for attempted murder, and to address Yunwu's original thesis. The question that had started everything: can humans be eliminated? The tribunal was held in the coalition's central station, a massive structure that orbited a neutral star. Representatives from hundreds of species attended. The chamber was enormous, designed to hold thousands. Yunwu, Mirai, and Taijin sat in the witness section. They wore formal uniforms. They looked tired. The attack on the moon had left scars, some visible, some not. Across the chamber sat the members of the Purity Council. 12 individuals from different species, all bound in restraints. They did not look ashamed. They looked angry that they had failed. The High Commander called the tribunal to order. She was an ancient being from a species that lived for centuries. Her name was too complex for humans to pronounce, so everyone called her the Commander. "We are here," she began, "to address a crisis within our coalition. Members of our own government attempted to murder students at our military academy. This is unacceptable." She looked at the Purity Council members. "You will be judged for your crimes. But first, we must address the question that motivated your actions. The question of whether humanity poses an existential threat to the coalition." A member of the Purity Council spoke. "Humans are dangerous." The boy proved it himself. "They cannot be contained. They cannot be controlled. They will eventually dominate or destroy us all." "Or," the commander replied, "they could be valuable allies. We will hear testimony to determine which is true." The first witness was Frektal. The old Scalvar walked to the center of the chamber. He stood alone in a circle of light visible to everyone. "Commander Rektal," the commander said, "you have observed humans closely for months. You supervised Corporal Hyunwoo's thesis presentations. You witnessed the attack on the moon. Give us your military assessment. Can humans be eliminated?" Frektal was silent for a moment. Then he said, "No." The chamber erupted in conversation. The commander called for silence. "Explain," she commanded. "I have fought wars for 40 years, Rektal said. "I have studied military history for longer. I have seen species eliminated. I know what it takes," he paused. "Humans cannot be eliminated without destroying ourselves in the process." He activated a holographic display. It showed tactical analyses, battle simulations, economic models. "I present 5 reasons," Rektal said. "First, tactical adaptability. Humans learn from every defeat. They never repeat the same mistake. Any strategy that works against them once will fail the second time." The display showed historical battles. Human forces changing tactics mid-fight, adapting to enemy strategies in real time. Second, psychological resilience. When faced with extinction, most species surrender or flee. Humans treat it as a problem to solve. They do not accept impossibility. Images showed the biological siege. Humans dying by millions, yet still working to find a cure. Still fighting. Third, collective memory. Human culture documents everything. They teach their children about every war, every enemy tactic, every threat they have survived. This means they can never truly be surprised. Any new attack will be compared to historical attacks and countered accordingly. The display showed human schools, museums, libraries, endless records of wars and conflicts. Fourth, symbiotic integration. Humans form alliances easily. They bond with other species. They share technology and culture. They create networks of friendship and mutual benefit. To eliminate humans, you would have to fight not just them, but everyone they have befriended. Images showed human colonies, humans working alongside dozens of different alien species, mixed communities, shared governments. Fifth, the ethical paradox. To eliminate humans completely would require methods so brutal, so total, that the coalition would have to abandon every principle we claim to uphold. We would become the monsters we pretend to fight against. Rektal turned to face the chamber directly. The cost of eliminating humanity is greater than any possible benefit. Not because humans are invincible, but because the attempt would destroy us morally, economically, and militarily. A council member stood. But if they are so dangerous, is it not better to pay that cost now rather than face a greater threat later? They are only dangerous to enemies, Rectal replied. To allies, humans are among the most loyal species I have encountered. Why would we choose to make enemies of them? The commander nodded. Thank you, Commander Vrektal. Your testimony is noted. Next came testimony from other instructors, from students who had witnessed the simulation, from analysts who had studied human history. Each one supported Rektal's assessment. Then the commander called Hyunwoo to testify. Hyunwoo walked to the center circle. He felt small in the massive chamber. Thousands of eyes watched him. Representatives from hundreds of species all waiting to hear what he would say. Corporal Hyunwoo, the commander said. You began this debate, finish it. Why should the coalition accept humanity as a permanent member? Hyunwoo took a breath. He had prepared for this moment, but now that it was here, the words felt inadequate. I don't ask you to accept us because we are powerful, he began. I ask you to accept us because trying to eliminate us would make you worse than us. He looked around the chamber. Humans are survivors. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars with ourselves. We learn to survive by being adaptable, by refusing to quit, by making any attack against us so expensive that our enemies regret trying. But survival isn't our only trait, Hyunwoo continued. We also learned something else. We learned that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that allies are better than subjects, that diversity makes everyone stronger. He gestured to Mirai and Taijin. We 3 humans survived an attack by 8 armed mercenaries because we worked together. Not just with each other, but with alien students who had been strangers weeks before. We survived because we taught them our tactics and they taught us their strengths. That's what humans do, Hyunwoo said. We adapt, we survive, and we bring others with us. Yes, if you try to eliminate us, we will fight back with everything we have. We will make you regret it. We will ensure that even victory feels like defeat. He paused. But if you accept us as true allies, we will stand with you forever. We will share our technology. We will teach our tactics. We will be the friends who never abandon you when things get difficult. You asked how to eliminate humans, Hyunwoo said. I told you don't, but that was only half the answer. The other half is you don't need to. We are not your enemies unless you make us so. The chamber was completely silent. Mirai stood without being called. May I add something? The commander nodded. Mirai walked to join Hyunwoo in the center circle. I lost family in the biological siege, she said. Both parents. 3 siblings. Most of my extended family. 60% of my species died in 2 years. Her voice was steady but filled with emotion. I could have spent my life hating the Klesh Collective. Hating everyone who ever hurt humanity. But humans don't work that way. We remember the pain, but we choose what to do with it. She activated her own display. It showed human art. Music, literature, all created during or after great tragedies. When humans suffer, we create, Mirai said. We turn our pain into something beautiful. We take our defeats and learn from them. We transform trauma into wisdom. This is what you need to understand about humans, she continued. You can hurt us. You can kill millions of us. But you cannot break our spirit. And when we recover, we will not seek revenge. We will seek to ensure it never happens again, to anyone, human or alien. Taejin stood as well, the quiet 3rd human, who had barely spoken during the entire semester. He walked to the center to stand with his companions. I was a soldier, Taejin said. His voice was soft but carried through the chamber. I fought in wars before I came to the academy. I killed people who were trying to kill me and my comrades. I saw terrible things. I became a soldier because I believed in protecting others, he continued. Not just humans. Anyone who needed protection. During the attack on the moon, I fought to protect alien students I had barely known for weeks. I would have died to save them. That is what humans do, Taejin said. We protect those we consider part of our group. And humans consider almost everyone part of our group eventually. We are loyal to our friends beyond reason, beyond logic, beyond self-interest. He looked at the Purity Council members. You tried to eliminate us. You failed. But if you had succeeded in killing us 3, other humans would have come for you. Not for revenge, for justice. To ensure you could never hurt anyone else again. The 3 humans stood together in the center of the chamber. 3 young people who had survived an assassination attempt and turned it into a lesson. The commander deliberated with her council for several hours. The tribunal waited. Finally, she returned. The coalition has reached a decision, she announced. The Purity Council is found guilty of attempted. The lecture hall was massive. It could hold 1,000 students, and today it was completely full. The walls were made of some dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps and battle formations from wars fought centuries ago. Corporal Hyunwoo sat near the back. He was human, which made him unusual in this place. The Galactic Military Academy accepted students from hundreds of different species, but humans were rare. Very rare. In fact, Hyunwoo was one of only 3 humans in the entire academy. Around him sat aliens of every imaginable shape and size. There were tall, scaled creatures with yellow eyes. There were small beings that looked like walking plants. Some had tentacles. Some had 6 legs. Some breathed different gases and sat in special environmental suits. But they all had one thing in common. They were here to learn how to fight wars. Commander Rektal entered the room. He was Scalvar, a species that looked like a cross between a lizard and a warrior. His scales were dark green, almost black. Scars covered his face and arms. Each scar told a story of a battle survived. He had been fighting wars for 40 years. The room went silent as Rektal walked to the front. He did not need to ask for quiet. His presence was enough. Today we discuss a difficult topic, Rektal said. His voice was rough, like rocks grinding together. We will talk about eliminating threats, permanent threats, species that refuse to submit to order. The holographic displays changed. Now they showed planets burning, cities collapsing, entire civilizations wiping out. The Galactic Coalition has existed for 3,000 years, Rektal continued. In that time we have faced many species that would not accept peace. Species that chose violence over cooperation. Species that had to be removed for the greater good. Hyunwoo felt the eyes of other students on him. A few turned in their seats to look at him directly. Humans had a reputation, not a good one. 17 species have been eliminated completely, Rektal said. Each time it was necessary. Each time it saved billions of lives. The mathematics of war are simple. Sometimes you must sacrifice the few to save the many. The displays showed more images. Hyunwoo recognized some of them from history classes. The Torvan Hive, destroyed 200 years ago for refusing to stop their territorial expansion. The Klesh Collective, eliminated after they created biological weapons and used them on civilian populations. Today I will ask you a question, Rektal said. He pressed a control and the displays changed again. This time they showed Earth. Hyunwoo's homeworld spinning slowly in space. Then more images appeared. Human colony worlds, Mars, Europa, the settlements on Titan, the new colonies in the Alpha Centauri system. Hyunwoo's stomach tightened. Humans, Rektal said, looking directly at Hyunwoo, are a problem species. They resist authority. They refuse to follow rules that other species accept without question. They have been involved in more conflicts in their short time in the coalition than species that have been members for centuries. That was not entirely fair, Hyunwoo thought. Most of those conflicts had been started by other species trying to take advantage of humanity's newness to galactic politics. But he said nothing. Not yet. So here is my question, Rektal said. How do you eliminate humans? The room became very, very quiet. Not even breathing could be heard. Every student seemed frozen in place. Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. This was supposed to be a military academy, a place of learning. But this question felt like a threat, like a promise of what might come. Several long seconds passed. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Hyunwoo raised his hand. The gesture was so unexpected that several students gasped. Others turned to stare at him with wide eyes or whatever they used for eyes. A Scalvar student sitting 2 rows ahead made a hissing sound of surprise. Rektal's eyes narrowed. He had not expected this. For a moment he just looked at Hyunwoo, as if trying to understand what the human was thinking. Corporal Hyunwoo, Rektal said slowly. You wish to answer? Yes, sir, Hyunwoo said. He stood up. His heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. Very well, Rektal said. The floor is yours. Hyunwoo looked around the room. Hundreds of alien faces stared back at him. Some looked curious. Some looked hostile. Some looked afraid, though he was not sure what they feared. You don't, Hyunwoo said simply. Confused whispers filled the room. Students looked at each other, not understanding. Explain, Rektal commanded. You don't eliminate humans, Hyunwoo said louder. You can't. Not without destroying yourself in the process. More whispers. Some students laughed. A few made sounds that might have been their species' version of laughter. One large creature with 4 arms slapped its desk, finding the statement hilarious. But Rektal did not laugh. He stared at Hyunwoo with an expression that was hard to read. Bold words, Rektal said. But words are cheap. The coalition has eliminated 17 species. What makes humans special? I'm not saying we're special, Hyunwoo replied. I'm saying we're expensive. Too expensive. The cost of eliminating humanity would be greater than any benefit you might gain. Expensive, Rektal repeated. Interesting choice of words. Continue. Hyunwoo took a breath. Humans have been in the coalition for only 200 years. In that time, we've survived 3 major attempts to wipe us out. The containment wars, the biological siege, the economic strangulation. Each time the species that tried to eliminate us either failed or destroyed themselves trying. Luck, said a voice from the front, a Vortan student, one of the tall ones with scales. Your species got lucky. 3 times, Hyunwoo asked. That's not luck. That's a pattern. Rektal held up a hand, silencing the room. You make a claim, Corporal. A claim that humanity cannot be eliminated. This is your thesis? Yes, sir. Then here is my challenge, Rektal said. He moved closer, his tail sweeping across the floor behind him. You have until the end of this semester to prove your thesis. You will present evidence. You will demonstrate your reasoning. You will convince this class that your species is, as you claim, impossible to eliminate. Rektal's eyes were cold, and if you fail, I will recommend that the coalition reconsider humanity's membership status. A full review. Everything will be examined. Every conflict. Every violation. Every reason we might have to declare your species a threat. The room went silent again. This time the silence felt heavy, dangerous. Hyunwoo met Rektal's gaze. And if I succeed? If you succeed, Rektal said, then perhaps I will learn something new. Perhaps we all will. The commander turned back to his podium. Class dismissed. We will reconvene in 3 days. Corporal Hyunwoo will begin his presentations then. Students began filing out of the room. Many of them looked at Hyunwoo as they passed. Some with respect. Some with pity. Some with anger. A human woman approached him as the room emptied. Her name was Mirai, and she was an engineering student. She was also one of the only 2 other humans in the academy. Are you insane? She asked quietly. Probably, Hyunwoo admitted. You just bet our entire species' future on winning an argument. I know. Mirai shook her head. I hope you know what you're doing. So do I, Hyunwoo said. He looked at the now empty lecture hall. In 3 days, he would have to stand in front of all these students and begin proving his case. He would have to show them why humanity could not be eliminated, why they should not even try. The weight of it pressed down on him, but he had spoken the truth. Humans could not be eliminated, not without a cost that nobody would be willing to pay. Now he just had to prove it. 3 days passed too quickly. Hyunwoo spent every waking hour in the academy's archives, reading old reports and battle records. He barely slept. He barely ate. Mirai brought him food and made sure he drank water, but even she could not make him rest. You look terrible, she said on the 3rd morning. I feel terrible, Hyunwoo admitted, but I'm ready. The lecture hall was even more packed than before. Word had spread about what happened. Students from other classes wanted to see this. Some instructors came too, standing in the back. Everyone wanted to know if the human could prove his claim. Rektal stood at the front, arms crossed. Corporal Hyunwoo, begin! Hyunwoo walked to the center of the room. He activated the holographic controls. Images appeared in the air around him. I want to tell you 3 stories, he said. 3 times that other species tried to eliminate humans. 3 times they failed. The first image showed a massive fleet of warships surrounding Earth's solar system. The ships formed a perfect blockade. Nothing could get in or out. The year was 2180, Hyunwoo began. The Vortan Empire decided that humans were expanding too fast. We were building colonies, claiming resources, moving into territories they wanted, so they put a military blockade around our entire solar system. A Vortan student in the front row shifted uncomfortably. They thought it would be simple. Hyunwoo continued. Cut humans off from resources. Wait for our economy to collapse. Wait for us to surrender or starve. The blockade was perfect. No ship could break through. So what happened? Someone asked. Hyunwoo changed the image. Now it showed the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Thousands of asteroids floating in space. We couldn't leave our solar system, Hyunwoo said. So we used what we had. The asteroid belt became the largest weapons factory in human history. We hollowed out asteroids and turned them into shipyards. We mined them for metals. We built thousands of ships inside the blockade. The image changed again. Now it showed a new kind of missile. Sleek. Dangerous looking. We also invented something new. Faster-than-light missiles. Small enough to be hard to track. Fast enough to hit before you could react. And we made thousands of them. The next image showed the Vortan blockade breaking apart. Ships exploding. Ships fleeing. The containment wars lasted 15 years, Hyunwoo said. The Vortan Empire lost 40% of their fleet. They spent more resources trying to contain us than they would have spent just letting us expand peacefully. In the end, they gave up. Not because they couldn't win, but because winning was too expensive. The room was quiet. Students were paying attention now. Lesson 1, Hyunwoo said. If you try to contain humans, we will use whatever we have. Even if it's just rocks floating in space. He changed the display. The new images made several students gasp. They showed humans lying in hospital beds. Bodies covered in sores. Cities empty of people. The year was 2210, Hyunwoo said. His voice was quieter now. The Klesh Collective decided to try something different. They created a biological weapon. A disease designed specifically for humans. Something that would only affect our DNA. This was personal for Hyunwoo. His parents had died in the biological siege, but he kept his voice steady. The disease worked perfectly, he continued. 60% of all humans died in the first 2 years. Our hospitals were overwhelmed. Our governments nearly collapsed. For a while it looked like the Klesh had succeeded where the Vortans failed. But they didn't, Mirai said from her seat. Everyone looked at her. She had not planned to speak, but she knew this story too. She had lived through it. Hyunwoo nodded at her. No, they didn't. Because humans have something that biological weapons can't plan for. We adapt. Our immune systems learn. Our DNA changes. Within 2 generations, every human was immune to the disease. The images changed again. Now they showed Klesh people sick in their own hospitals. But there was a problem, Hyunwoo said. Diseases mutate. The weapon the Klesh created changed over time, and eventually, it mutated into something that could affect them too. When they came to us for help, we gave it to them. Why? Asked a student. They tried to kill you all. Because revenge isn't as useful as making a point, Hyunwoo replied. We created a cure for the disease. We gave it to the Klesh for free. We showed them that trying to kill us had only hurt them. And we made sure every species in the coalition knew what happened. Lesson 2, Hyunwoo said. If you try to kill humans with disease, we will survive. And then we will cure both ourselves and you. The cost of your weapon will be your own people's lives. The third story was different. The images showed trade routes and economic data instead of battles. The year was 2235, Hyunwoo said. No armies this time. No weapons. Just business. A group of trading guilds decided to destroy Earth's economy. They controlled the trade of essential resources. Metals we needed for ships. Gases we needed for terraforming. Crystals we needed for power generation. They cut you off? Someone asked. Completely, Hyunwoo confirmed. They thought we would have to pay whatever prices they demanded. They thought they could control us through economics. Force us to accept unfair treaties. Make us dependent on them. What did you do? Hyunwoo smiled. We found alternatives. For every resource they controlled, we found something else that worked just as well. We couldn't get their metal alloys. We invented new ones. We couldn't buy their power crystals. We developed fusion reactors that didn't need them. We couldn't access their trade routes. We built our own. The next image showed a graph. It tracked the value of the trading guilds over time. The line went steadily down. Within 5 years, we had replaced everything they sold, Hyunwoo said. But we didn't stop there. We started selling our alternatives to other species. And because we weren't trying to create a monopoly, our prices were lower. Much lower. The trading guilds went bankrupt, Hyunwoo said. All of them. They tried to control us economically, and they destroyed their own businesses doing it. Lesson 3, Hyunwoo said. If you try to control humans through resources, we will find new resources. We will innovate. We will adapt. and we will make sure you regret trying to control us. Frektal had been silent during all 3 stories. Now he spoke. These are examples of survival. I asked you to prove elimination is impossible. Survival and impossibility are not the same thing. You're right, Hyunwoo agreed. Survival isn't proof. But look at the pattern. Every species that tried to eliminate us failed, and every species that tried paid a heavy price. Military cost, lives lost, economic collapse. He changed the display one more time. Now it showed a simple equation. Cost versus benefit, Hyunwoo said. That's what war comes down to. Is the benefit of eliminating humans worth the cost of trying? Based on history, the answer is no. It has never been worth it. It will never be worth it. A student raised a tentacle. But what if we found a way? What if we learned from these past failures? Then we would learn from them too, Hyunwoo replied. That's what humans do. Every time someone tries to kill us, we learn, we adapt. We make sure the same method never works twice. Mirai stood up. Can I add something? Frektal nodded. There's another factor, Mirai said. Humans don't just fight. We remember. We write everything down. Every war, every battle, every method used against us. We teach it to our children. We put it in books in schools and museums. Every generation of humans knows every way that someone tried to kill us before. She looked around the room. Can any other species in this room say the same? Do you teach your children about every war you ever fought? Do you make sure they remember every enemy's tactics? The room was quiet. Several students looked uncomfortable. Humans have a saying, Hyunwoo said. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. We never forget, which means you can never surprise us twice. Frektal was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Interesting. You have given us historical examples, but history is just the past. What about the future? What if someone finds a new way? Hyunwoo met his gaze. Then it better work perfectly the first time. Because if it doesn't, you've just taught us a new way to survive, and we will make sure everyone knows you tried. The lecture ended. Students filed out slowly, talking among themselves. Some looked convinced. Some looked skeptical. But all of them looked thoughtful. Frektal stopped Hyunwoo as he was leaving. You present your case well, but we are not finished. Next time I want to see more than history. I want to see proof that applies to the future, not just the past. You'll get it, Hyunwoo promised. As he walked out of the lecture hall, Hyunwoo felt exhausted, but also relieved. He had made his first case. He had shown them the pattern. Now he just had to show them why that pattern would never change. 2 weeks passed. Hyunwoo gave several more presentations about human history and tactics. Some students started to understand his point. Others remained skeptical. Frektal said nothing, just watched and listened. Then one day, Frektal made an announcement. Words are easy, he told the class. Anyone can talk about history and make it sound good. Today we will do something different. Today we will test Corporal Hyunwoo's theories in practice. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. This was not part of the plan. We will run a simulation, Frektal continued. A war game. I will divide this class into 2 teams. One team will defend a planet. The other team will attack it. The defending team will be outnumbered. They will have fewer resources. They will be in a losing position. Frektal looked directly at Hyunwoo. Corporal Hyunwoo, you and the other humans will be on the defending team. If your theories are correct, you should be able to prove them in battle. Even a simulated one. The class began preparing immediately. Frektal divided them into groups. The attacking team got 70 students. The defending team got 30. The odds were more than 2 to 1. On the defending team were Hyunwoo, Mirai, and the third human at the academy, a quiet man named Tae-jin. Tae-jin rarely spoke in class. Most students forgot he was even there. But Hyunwoo knew Tae-jin had been a soldier before coming to the academy. A special forces soldier. The simulation would last 3 days. The defending team had to hold a resource-rich planet. The attacking team had to conquer it. Simple rules. But the outcome would mean everything. The simulation began on a Monday morning. Both teams entered their command centers. These were rooms filled with holographic displays and controls. Everything they did would be tracked and recorded. The attacking team did exactly what Frektal had taught them. They established a standard blockade. They cut off supply lines. They positioned their forces for a conventional assault. Everything by the book. Everything textbook perfect. They're going to crush us, said an alien student on the defending team. He was from a species that looked like a walking tree. His name was difficult for humans to pronounce, so everyone called him Barkley. Probably, Hyunwoo agreed. Then what do? We make it expensive, Hyunwoo said. The first battle happened on day 1. The attacking team sent ships to test the defenses. The defending team met them in a conventional fight. The defenders lost. Badly. They lost 10 ships to destroy 3 enemy ships. This is a disaster, Barkley said. This is information, Taejin replied quietly. It was one of the first times he had spoken.
Now we know how they fight. On day 2, the attacking team launched a major assault.
They came at the planet from 3 directions at once. A classic pincer movement. The defending team's forces were split trying to cover all approaches, but the defenders did something unexpected. Instead of fighting, they retreated. They pulled back to the planet's surface. They abandoned their ships in orbit. What are you doing? Demanded Barkley. We just gave them control of space. Yes, Hyunwoo said calmly. Now they think they've won. The attacking team celebrated. They controlled orbit. They controlled the space around the planet. All that remained was landing and taking control of the surface. Easy. They sent landing forces down. Thousands of simulated troops and dropships. They landed in 3 different zones, planning to spread out and conquer the planet piece by piece. The landing forces found cities. But the cities were empty. The defending forces had evacuated everyone. Buildings stood vacant. Where are they? The attacking commander asked. They found out an hour later. The cities exploded. Every single one. The defending team had rigged them with explosives before leaving. Thousands of simulated attacking soldiers died in an instant. You destroyed your own cities, the attacking commander protested. They're just buildings, Mirai replied over the communication channel. We can rebuild buildings. Can you rebuild your soldiers? The attacking team regrouped. They were more careful now. They scanned for traps. They moved slowly. They didn't trust anything. That was when the defending team struck from the mountains. Small groups of simulated soldiers attacking supply lines, hitting isolated units, disappearing before reinforcements arrived. This is guerrilla warfare, Rektal observed. He was watching the simulation from a control room. Primitive tactics. Primitive but effective, commented another instructor. By the end of day 2, the attacking team controlled most of the planet's surface. But they had lost almost half their forces. And they didn't actually control anything. They controlled empty land. Every time they tried to establish a base, it got attacked. Every time they tried to set up supply lines, those lines got cut. Day 3 was chaos. The defending team had split into dozens of small groups. Each group operated independently. The attacking team couldn't predict where they would strike next. They couldn't establish any secure positions. Then the defending team did something that made everyone watching gasp. They surrendered. They broadcast a message saying they would stop fighting and lay down weapons. The attacking team was suspicious, but they accepted. They gathered their forces to accept the surrender. Several thousand simulated soldiers in one location, waiting for the defenders to come out. The defenders never came out. Instead, the simulation registered a massive explosion. The defenders had planted a weapon under the surrender location. A weapon powerful enough to destroy their own remaining forces, and all the attacking forces at once. Mutual destruction, Rektal said quietly. They killed themselves to kill the enemy. The simulation ended. The attacking team had technically won. They controlled the planet, but 90% of their forces were gone. The planet was destroyed. All resources were lost. Nothing remained but ashes. Both teams gathered in the lecture hall. The attacking team looked tired and frustrated. The defending team looked grim but satisfied. Analysis, Rektal commanded. The attacking team commander, a Skalvar like Rektal, spoke first. We won the objective. We took the planet, did you? Hyunwoo asked. What did you win? A dead world with no resources. You lost almost all your forces getting it. Was it worth the cost? We followed proper tactics, the commander argued. You followed textbook tactics, Taejin said quietly. We didn't. Mirai activated a display. It showed the casualty ratio. For every one of us you killed, you lost 3 soldiers. We were outnumbered 2 to 1, but we made you pay with 3 to 1 losses. The math doesn't work in your favor. But we won, the commander insisted. You won a graveyard, Hyunwoo said. If this were a real war, you would go back to your superiors and report, mission accomplished, we conquered the planet. And they would ask, at what cost? And you would have to tell them. Almost our entire army, and the planet is worthless now. Would they call that victory? Rektal stood. Corporal Hyunwoo makes a valid point. In war, victory is measured not just by objectives achieved but by costs paid. A victory that destroys your army is often worse than a defeat. He looked at the defending team. Your tactics were unorthodox. You violated many conventional rules of warfare. You destroyed your own cities. You used false surrenders. You chose mutual destruction over actual surrender. Yes, sir, Hyunwoo agreed. Why? Because humans don't fight to win, Hyunwoo explained. We fight so the enemy loses. There's a difference. If we can't have victory, we make sure you can't either. A student raised a hand. But that's insane. You die either way. Maybe, Mirai said. But if you know that fighting us means losing even when you win, maybe you decide not to fight us at all. That's the real victory. The war that never happens because the cost is too high. Tae-jin spoke again. I was a soldier before I came here. I fought in 3 wars. We had a saying, the enemy can kill us, but they can't make us stop fighting. Even when we lose, we make them regret winning. Rektal was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, You have demonstrated that human tactics are indeed difficult to counter. But this was a simulation. In reality, would humans truly choose mutual destruction over survival? Have we not already answered that? Hyunwoo replied. Look at our history. The containment wars. The biological siege. Every time someone tried to eliminate us, we chose to fight to the end, even when survival seemed impossible. Another student spoke. But what about other species? What about aliens who befriend humans? Mirai smiled. That's actually the most important part. Thank you for asking. She changed the display. Now it showed data about human colonies. Humans don't just fight. We also make friends. Our colonies integrate with alien refugees. We share technology with peaceful species. We form partnerships and alliances. What does that have to do with elimination? Someone asked. Everything, Mirai replied. If you try to eliminate humans, you don't just fight us. You fight everyone we've ever helped. Everyone we've ever traded with. Everyone who has human friends or human neighbors. The cost multiplies exponentially. Hyunwoo nodded. Eliminate us and you create enemies across the entire coalition. Species that might not care about humans in principle, but who can't ignore their friends being destroyed. Rektal dismissed the class, but he asked Hyunwoo to stay behind. You have made your point well, Rektal said when they were alone. Perhaps too well, sir? There are those in the coalition who will not like what you have proven. They will see humans as a threat precisely because. Rektal's warning proved accurate. Within a week, Hyunwoo started noticing things. Strange looks from students he did not know. Conversations that stopped when he entered a room. A sense that something was happening beyond his awareness. Mirai noticed it too. People are watching us, she said quietly one day. I know, Hyunwoo replied. Tae-jin said nothing, but his eyes were always moving now. Always checking exits. Always aware of who was nearby. His soldier instincts had awakened. 2 weeks after the simulation, Rektal announced a field exercise. The entire class would travel to a remote moon for practical training. Survival skills. Resource management. Working in hostile environments. Is this normal? Hyunwoo asked a Scalver student he had become friendly with. Field exercises happen every semester, the student replied. Nothing unusual about it, but Tae-jin disagreed. Something feels wrong, he said quietly to Hyunwoo and Mirai. Field exercises are usually announced months in advance. This came up suddenly. Maybe Rektal changed his schedule, Mirai suggested. Maybe, Tae-jin said, but he did not sound convinced. The class traveled to the moon in 3 transport ships. The moon was cold and barren. The atmosphere was thin but breathable with assistance. Rocky terrain stretched in every direction. They landed near an abandoned mining facility. The complex was huge, with tunnels running deep underground. It had been shut down decades ago when the minerals ran out. We will spend 3 days here, Rektal announced. You will be divided into teams. Each team must survive using only what you can find. No outside supplies. No rescue except in genuine medical emergencies. The teams were assigned. Hyunwoo, Mirai, and Tae-jin ended up on the same team along with 5 alien students, including Barkley, and a Scalvar named Jinwoo. Jinwoo had been hostile to humans at first, but the simulation had changed his mind. They gathered their equipment and headed into the facility to find shelter. The tunnels were dark and cold. Their lights cast strange shadows on the walls. That was when everything went wrong. The explosion came without warning. A massive blast that shook the entire facility. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Lights went out. Screaming filled the tunnels. Everyone down, Taejin shouted. His military training took over instantly. He pulled Hyunwoo and Mirai behind a support beam. When the dust settled, they assessed the damage. The tunnel behind them had collapsed. They were trapped in a side chamber with their team. Worse, several students were injured. Barkley had a broken limb. Another student was bleeding badly. What happened? Mirai asked. Mining accident, suggested one student. But Taejin was examining the walls. He found burn marks. Explosive residue. This was not an accident, he said quietly. Someone set charges. Who would do that? Hyunwoo demanded. They got their answer a moment later. Figures emerged from deeper in the tunnels. Not students. Not instructors. Mercenaries in combat armor. 8 of them, heavily armed. Nobody move, the lead mercenary said. His voice came through a helmet speaker. What is this? Jinwoo demanded. This is a demonstration, the mercenary replied. We are going to prove that humans can be eliminated. And you're going to be the proof. Hyunwoo felt ice in his stomach. Who hired you? Does it matter? There are powerful people in the coalition who don't like what you've been teaching. They want you gone, all 3 of you humans, and anyone foolish enough to be with you. The instructors will know something is wrong, Mirai said. There was a mining accident, the mercenary said. Very tragic. Several students killed. By the time rescue arrives, there won't be enough left to prove otherwise. The mercenaries raised their weapons. Taejin moved. He was fast, faster than anyone expected. He grabbed a piece of fallen rock and threw it at the nearest mercenary's helmet. The rock hit hard enough to crack the visor. Run, Taejin shouted. The team scattered. They ran deeper into the tunnels as weapons fire lit up the darkness behind them. One blast hit close enough to Hyunwoo that he felt the heat. They ran until they could not hear pursuit anymore. Finally, they stopped in a small chamber to catch their breath. What do we do? Barkley asked. His voice was high with panic. We survive, Hyunwoo said. How? They have armor, weapons, we have nothing. Taejin smiled grimly. We have something. We have what humans always have when backed into a corner, desperation and creativity. They took stock of their situation. They had no weapons, no communications. They were trapped underground with trained killers hunting them. Several of their team were injured. This is impossible, said one student. Good, Mirai said. Humans are best at impossible. They began to plan. Hyunwoo remembered everything from the simulation. Every tactic they had used. Every trick that had worked, Taejin took charge of defense. He showed the alien students how to move quietly, how to set up ambush points, how to use the environment as a weapon. He found old mining equipment and showed them how to turn it into traps. Mirai found an old communications panel. It was dead, but she started taking it apart. If I can salvage the transmitter components, I might be able to build something. Send a signal. How long? Hyunwoo asked. Hours. Maybe a day. Then we need to survive that long, Hyunwoo said. We need to make them afraid to come after us. Jinwoo looked skeptical. They have armor and weapons. Why would they be afraid? Because we're going to show them what cornered humans do, Hyunwoo replied. They spent the next hour setting up traps. They used mining equipment to create false tunnels. They rigged rocks to fall when triggered. They made noise in one direction while moving in another. The mercenaries came hunting. But the tunnels were a maze, and the defenders knew them better now. The mercenaries had technology, but the defenders had terrain. The first mercenary to fall hit one of Taejin's traps. A section of ceiling collapsed on him. His armor protected him from death, but he was pinned. His team had to waste time pulling him out. The second encounter was an ambush. The students attacked from 3 directions at once using improvised weapons, mining tools, rocks, even their bare hands. They did not win the fight, but they wounded 2 more mercenaries and escaped before the enemy could organize. This is insane, Barkley said. He was terrified, but he was fighting anyway. We're students fighting soldiers. Yes, Hyunwoo agreed. And we're making them pay for every step forward, the mercenary leader called out through the tunnels. This is pointless. Surrender and we'll make it quick. Why would we believe you? Hyunwoo shouted back. Because you can't win. We don't have to win, Taejin replied. We just have to survive long enough for rescue. That was when Mirai's voice came from deeper in the chamber. I've got something. The transmitter works. She had jury-rigged a communication device from old mining equipment and pieces of their emergency gear. It was crude, but it worked. Who do we call? Someone asked. Everyone, Mirai said. She began broadcasting on every frequency she could access. A distress signal. Their location. What had happened. Evidence of the attack. The mercenary leader heard the transmission. They're calling for help. Find them now. The final battle was desperate. The mercenaries came in force, trying to stop the transmission. The students fought with everything they had. Taejin coordinated their defense like a general, putting people where they needed to be. Jinwoo saved Hyunwoo's life. A mercenary had Hyunwoo cornered, weapon raised. Jinwoo tackled the mercenary from behind. It should not have worked. The mercenary was bigger and had armor, but Jinwoo used a move Hyunwoo had taught in class, a human close combat technique. The mercenary went down. I understand now, Jinwoo said to Hyunwoo later. Your species doesn't teach surrender because you've never accepted it. The mercenaries were pulling back, regrouping when the rescue arrived. Vrektal led the team personally. He brought security forces and medical teams. The mercenaries tried to flee but were captured. When Vrektal entered the chamber where the students had made their stand, he stopped and stared. The students had turned the mining facility into a fortress. They had built traps and barricades. They had improvised weapons. They had prepared to hold out for days if necessary. Impressive, Vrektal said quietly. Hyunwoo was exhausted, injured, but still standing. We survived. You did more than survive, Vrektal replied. You proved your thesis in blood. Medics treated the wounded. The students were evacuated to the transport ships. As they left the moon, Hyunwoo looked back at the mining facility, a place where someone had tried to prove humans could be eliminated. Instead, they had proven the opposite. Later, on the ship, Jinwoo approached Hyunwoo. I was wrong about humans, he said. I thought you were dangerous because you were strong. Now I know you're dangerous because you refuse to accept defeat. We're not dangerous to friends, Hyunwoo replied. I know, Jinwoo said. That's the point. You're only dangerous to those who try to hurt you. That's not a threat. That's just common sense. Mirai was working with technicians to analyze the transmission she had sent. This evidence is going straight to Coalition High Command, she said. Whoever hired those mercenaries is going to be exposed. Taejin was quieter. He had killed one of the mercenaries in the final fight. He had not wanted to, but there had been no choice. Are you okay? Hyunwoo asked him. I will be, Taejin said. I'm just tired of proving we deserve to exist. Maybe we won't have to prove it much longer, Hyunwoo said. He hoped that was true.